We are live betting for breakfast, our Wednesday night golf betting show, and what a week it is, the U.S. Open. I'm Mark Drumheller. I'm here with Dave Glechter. We got special guest Chris Euksuzian, and we have a tremendous show lined up today. We're going to talk about everything. Rahm's revenge. We're going to talk about Bryson and Brooks and winners. We hit the outright last week with Garrick Higgo. Dave, 45-1 coming off the top rope with the big win. Listen, we've been on fire for that right later. So talk a little bit about Higgo, what you saw going into last week for those who didn't watch the episode last week. And, it was an awesome hit.
And we talk about this, and Chris, you probably get into a little bit last week with that type of field. We weren't on DJ or Brooks. It just – that number, 850, 750, is just not a number I'm attracted to. So we started looking in different areas, and you get to a guy like Garrick Higgo. Not a lot of people know about him. Drums. I said, this is your best chance to get a discount. And at 45-1, a guy that can play, played a couple top 10, top 20 props on him too. He won two over in Europe before he came over to Kiawah. At Kiawah, he didn't play great, but he made the cut and then played a couple decent rounds over the weekend, which I just think it was getting those nerves out, getting used to this. And then you're back in South Carolina, right? And it's at a course that is a little bit like the Grand Canary that he won a few weeks ago. You're at a course that's similar to Kiawah, just not on the ocean. A big, wide open, a lot of waist bunkers. Why not? And then that's really where I was looking, and got a little lucky because my man choked down the stretch. Chesson Hadley just had it on too tight around the neck, but I'll take it.
Yeah, definitely. And that was the thing with me is I played DJ live going into the weekend. Got him in Saturday morning before he went, haywire, went sideways. And then Sunday I came back and I played the field versus Hadley, right? Because I just didn't have the confidence. I didn't know who was going to step up, but I did not have the confidence in Hadley to be able to pull through with the lead and kind of get to the finish line. And luckily it turned out because it was kind of up in the air. I felt like a lot of Sunday is who's really going to pull through and kind of win this event. Chris, what were some of your takeaways from last week?
Well, there was a lot. By the way, guys, thanks for having me on. Love being on, watching the show. You guys cover everything, especially golf. I love it. You guys do good work. As far as the tournament went, I just feel like there was a lot of good value last week because it was almost like you had a bunch of Corn Ferry guys. You had a lot of good values. I ended up doing pretty well in the top 20 market. I ended up getting Scott Piercy plus 3.5, David Lipsky 5-1, Seamus Powers 4-1. These were all top 20s, and that ended up being like plus 1250 right there in just top 20s. So I mean, in those kind of tournaments, those lesser fields, you can take some little bit longer shots in the top 20s because these guys are good, especially these Corn Ferry guys. I'm not saying I'm a Corn Ferry expert, but you can see which guys have played well in recent form, especially on that tour, because those guys are hungry and they're pretty much professionals, almost going to get to the PGA anyway. So I just feel like there was a lot of value there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, what I was going to say is Lipsky was the name I threw out last week. It really, again, a Corn Ferry, under the radar player. He was a guy who played in a lot of DFS lineups. So nice hit on the top 20 there. You're right. You kind of got to dig deep in those types of tournaments, but there's value. So right.
Yep. Much different this weekend, right? So we got the U.S. Open and all the stars are out. A ton of competition at the top of the odds board. I have the top few going at the ticker at the bottom. You can see those odds there, led by Jon Rahm, obviously. But before we get into the individual players, Dave, let's talk a little bit about the course like we always do, what we should expect, and then, some of the metrics that we're using to profile these winners that we're going to cash in on.
Dude, I appreciate you leading off with that. I've been to Torrey Pines. I haven't been fortunate enough to play. I've been to the Farmers twice, working for the Navy, been out in San Diego plenty of times, just got lucky, got to walk it, and I spent all my time on the South Course. It's the course. If you're familiar with the Farmers, they play the North Course once and South Course 3 times if you make the cut. We're in the U.S. Open. We're going to play South Course the entire time. Am I breaking up?
No, you're good.
You're good.
Okay, cool. So, the cool thing about the South Course, though, is you get a lot of views over there's only one hole that parallels the ocean. I think that's 4, but a lot of them are just, in and out. You get a couple of cuts in the ocean, really wide open. Wind plays a huge factor here. They dropped it to a par 71 for the U.S. Open. It's a 72 normally. down to a 71. They even lengthened it out another 100 yards for what you normally play in the Farmers. And what's key here is Kikuyu. If you've ever heard of West Coast golf, Kikuyu rough is just so unpredictable. And that's what they have here. It can grow up high, so you might have some nice, flyer lies. But if you get in between two roots of grass, you could be down 3-4 inches. And then you're playing on Poana greens. It's a skill set putting on Poana greens. So Torrey Pines really neat. The holes I'll say that are key to me, the hardest hole I think maybe even on the PGA Tour is 12. 12 plays like a par 5, but it's a par 4, like 500 yards back uphill. The exact same hole as 13, and it's downhill, and it's a par 5. So 12 is a key hole. 11 right before that, long par 3. They'll play over 220 this week. So the scoring right around 10, 11, 12 is really going to be key for me in this tournament. When you're watching on Sunday, 2-3 strokes isn't enough when you have to roll through that gauntlet. So that's my key thoughts on Torrey Pines.
Yeah, a lot of the interviews that I've seen so far from the golfers talking about the course, they talk about the rough, right? Something in contention. Obviously, the putting is going to be difficult on that surface, but they talk about the rough, how thick it is going to be this weekend. Chris, what are some of the things that you're zeroing in on as far as metrics that you're looking for when you're trying to find value in this weekend?
Well, I think the number one thing is you got to find guys that are good with the long irons, because those guys are going to be typically pretty good in this kind of rough for the most part. There's a pretty much hand select amount of guys that can really hit it well out of there. I remember watching Xander Schauffele's video where he was trying to hit out of the rough, and he was just like, it wasn't moving anywhere. And I don't think it was sandbagging us, but I think it is going to be that tough. But I think it's important when you're looking at a golfer to take the win here. In each of the last 10 U.S. Open winners, all of them were inside the top 30 of the world golf rankings. So I think you can at least narrow it down to the top 30. Obviously, U.S. Open designs, these kind of courses bring out the best out of these good players. You probably won't see like a no-name kind of guy win this kind of thing. So when you're kind of trying to find what guys you think are going to do well, I think inside that top 30 of the world golf rankings is going to be very important.
I agree. Definitely key. I don't expect somebody to kind of pop up. I think it's going to be very top heavy. Another interesting stat I saw was every U.S. Open winner since 2008 had at least a top 10 in their last 5 events coming in. So need to be in form. This is the test of all tests. You talk to these golfers, they know it's going to be a very challenging course to play. Even those who had success, at the Farmers, at Torrey Pines, going to be a little different. Just on the South course all weekend. So it's going to be very interesting to see that play out. Dave, what I want to talk to you about is the putting a little bit. I hear two kind of different sides when they talk about the putting and having to putt on these types of greens. And one of them is that, hey, you know what? Because it's so difficult, it kind of takes away the advantage from the good putters, because it's going to be difficult for everybody to putt. So somebody who typically is in form putting coming in, holding that type of advantage might not be as valuable coming into this week. And the other side of the coin that I'm hearing from people are saying it's just the opposite. If you can target in on guys who have experience putting well on this type of greens, the value is going to be tremendous. They're people you need to zero in. Where do you fall in between those, two contrasting opinions?
I'm not on the fence because that would hurt, but I will tell you, there's value on both sides, right? But truly, I believe in this U.S. Open, I'm not focused on putting. And I know Poana's tough. I mean, it's one of those where a lot of people overread it. This doesn't roll like your true Bermuda greens or any of your other greens. It's got almost like a bumpy type of texture to it, and they get fooled by it. Like, when we're putting out here, guys, you're looking for the shiny spots, and you can kind of see what's rolling fast, what's rolling, back uphill into the green. Poana's a little different. So for me, I'm actually looking at guys that are better around the green because I heard they're going to grow the rough higher around the green. Putting for me is not a huge stat here. I think it's going to even itself out. And I kind of think it's in a way a little like Chambers Bay. I mean, you remember those spotted greens, and it was like kind of nasty. Obviously, Spieth hit those that week. The best putter could come out on top, but for me, I'm looking at putting's a little further down on my list. I think it's going to kind of be neutralized. So I'm on that side of the fence.
Yeah, definitely. Let's get into some winners. So let's get with the people checking in early. Dan Green checking in. Played Higo last week, so he cashed in, tailed us, got some money. Love to see that. And our man Adam Cease, he's got Rom, Fleetwood, Casey, Spieth, and Brooks. So he is loading up.
I only got one of those.
Yeah, I got two of them.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that. Fleetwood's a guy that's interesting. He's a guy who really, I think, needs to get into form. And then, of course, Adam checks in. He's riding Phil. Phil's been a funny point of contention. A lot of people, we'll get into the make and miss cut lately, but I think there might be some value on Phil not making the cut. You have two very extreme opinions, I feel like, on Phil. Some people expect him, hey, San Diego, they expect him to kind of come and show up. A lot of people like Phil with his recent success, and then there's a lot of people that are just like, no way, man, this does not fit his course at all. But we'll get into the make miss cut stuff later, and hey, maybe someone has him as an outright. I don't know. He's definitely not on my card, but I was wrong before. But Dave, I'm going to let you kick things off. Let's get things started with our outrights. We've been red hot. 3 outright winners pre-flop at the last 11 events, plus 3 more we added on live. So 6 of 11 if you want to count the live bets in outrights. But just 3 out of the last 11 events has been crazy. Garrick Higo, obviously, last week, the 45-1 winner. So I'm ready to make it back-to-back. How about you, Dave?
Yeah, man, it's been trending in that direction, right? I had Hoffman, he finished 3rd, and then Morikawa I had loses in a playoff. And look, we're not giving out 20 picks. We're giving out 3 or 4. So just letting you know. I mean, it's not easy, but hitting these has been good lately. And I will tell you where I've been looking at. And I mean, I'm just convinced the cream rises to the top. The U.S. Open wants the best players to win, right? And it's so – I really have narrowed this field down to the big hitters. It's a fact of life in the U.S. Open. I mean, you don't want to be in this rough, but the fact of the matter is if you're far enough down and you can take a wedge out of the rough instead of 7-6 iron, I mean, it's a huge advantage. So, I mean, it's funny how Torrey Pines plays. They're actually, during the Farmers, they actually they reward wild players off the tee. Driving accuracy, they've had players outside the top 50 win it more than players inside the top 5 or the top 10. So it's just, but that's in a different time of year. That's in February, rough's a little down. So there will be value in hitting fairways. But I'm just convinced it's going to be a cream of the crop tournament. And you got to pick your guys. You got about 7, 8 up there that you got to just sell yourself at this point. And the first guy I'm sold on is Brooks Koepka. It's just, I mean, the PGA alone itself, told you this guy just does what he does when it comes to major time. And we talked about it last week, Drums. He was out there just to tune himself up. That's why I didn't want to touch him. You didn't want to touch him. And we knew after round 1, he was out there just play a couple games, just get a couple distances, just get some tournament, action, get that pressure going. He's ready, man. And I believe it. I believe the controversy with Bryson is just going to drive him. I believe this feeds that, fuels that fire even more. His key stats, they're good. There's guys that are better. But for me, when I looked at strokes gained off the tee, he's 18th. Good, right? Driving distance, 16th. Good. Still really good. Par 5 scoring average. Only 3 par 5s here. Back in 2008, Tiger Woods shot 3 eagles, 4 birdies on the par 5s. You got to score on the par 5s. Brooks is 18th. And his approach to the green, which is important because on the par 4s here, they're tough. You got to dial him in. He's 14th. So he's top 18 in all the 4 key categories I looked at. And he's a winner, man.
Yeah.
Dude, split those in half when it comes to a major. I mean, he's probably top 5 and all that. So it's not chalk. I'm telling you, I think what's he around 18-1? I think I got him at.
I got him at 18-1. I am on him as well. So I am happy to hear that we're on the same page here. Brooks Koepka, you know the deal. He won back-to-back in 17 and 18. Has 3 top 5 finishes in his last 5 U.S. Opens, right? So he is the U.S. Open. Should be the U.S. Koepka. And listen, 7 top 7 finishes in his last 9 majors, right? Big time player, wants the big stage, wants the competition against all the golfers, all the tough golfers, the best in the world. Bryson DeChambeau, defending champion. Do you need any more motivation from Brooks Koepka than this weekend. So I think you're going to see a dialed-in Brooks. Again, I have no concerns with him missing the cut last week. He admitted he was just out there, tweaking some things, getting ready for the big dance. He actually spoke very candidly about having trouble focusing on events that are just regular PGA Tour events, that he can't really get up, he can't focus. But he's going to be completely dialed in at this U.S. Open. I got him top 20 as well, minus 125, had to pay the quarter. I'm okay with it. I think he's definitely landed in that top 20. I think it's easy money. Brooks versus Bryson doesn't get any better than that. Chris Euksuzian, what is your take on Brooks Koepka?
Well, Brooks Koepka, he's a big game hunter. That's pretty much what he is. Typically, what I was looking at is past history. The year that he won at Bethpage Black, he played at the Honda Classic and ended up getting into the top 10. And then he ended up being like a 9-1 favorite at that PGA Championship. He won that pretty handedly. So I was kind of actually looking for him to do a little bit better last week. It didn't end up being that way. I'm still okay with it for the most part. I'm personally not playing Brooks this week. If you do play Brooks, I don't think it's a bad play because you're going to be in it all week. You could definitely find spots for him for, live round matchups, things of that nature. I just don't know if I really want to sweat a Brooks DeChambeau matchup personally. I like to look at easier matchups. So I'm pretty much backing off on that for the most part. But Brooks is definitely somebody you would like to ride. That's for sure.
Yeah, I noticed DraftKings did put that prop up there, the Bryson versus Brooks. I think it's minus 125 for the Bryson, 105 the Brooks. And they're not paired together. Everybody wanted to see them paired together. Did not happen. But hey, they might not have no choice come Sunday, right? Because I think that this course could play very well to Bryson if he's able to get back into form. But let's talk about the odds leader. Another guy that I have on my card, and that's Jon Rahm. And I wanted to, Dave, I talked to you a little bit about Rahm offline. We talked about him during the week. And Chris, I read your piece over at PhillyInfluencer.com, the Rahm rebound. I feel like you two are pretty much on point in your position. Dave, I'll let you talk about it first, but I want to explain why I'm playing Rahm. I just think that, I understand it's going to be hard to have a performance to follow up with his last performance. You know what I mean? But I just think, he plays to the course, top 10 in 5 of his last 7. His form's incredible. He's first in overall scoring average, second driving, 5th greens and regulation, 6th birdie average. So, if you look from 2017 to 2021, he's played 15 rounds at Torrey Pines South, 7th in scoring average. Nobody ahead of him has played more rounds. So he's a horse for the course, as they like to say. Mm-hmm. He's dialed in. I feel like he's been waiting for this event all year. And the price isn't good. And I understand that part is I'm paying a premium for Jon Rahm in this situation. I'm playing him outright. I'm playing him top 10. The top 10 price I got for Rahm was minus 110. So even still had to pay a dime on that. The price isn't good. There's not value in the line. But I just think that he's going to be strong, and I feel like he's going to land in that top 10. So it was a bet that I was comfortable making. Dave, we talked a little bit about offline, and Chris kind of had the same position when I read his article today. Tell me your thoughts on Jon Rahm.
Yeah, listen, I mean, obviously it's an unfortunate circumstance with what happened to him and, over at the Memorial, 10-1. I mean, 10-1 to win the U.S. Open when the guy's been off. He's had COVID. There's just some things with Jon Rahm. Look, if you look at all the stats at Torrey Pines, he's had like the best, under par score in the last 5 years at Torrey Pines. This is his course. He's won here. Obviously, one of his first wins was at the Farmer, if not his first, with a great eagle putt on 18. I'm sorry, and it just looks too good to be true. For me, this is a tournament that has just so much more value in betting behind Rahm that I'm going to watch what Rahm does in round 1 and decide if I'm going to live bet him. I think there's more value in me live betting him, getting him 4 or 5 and getting in the right position and not playing the 10-1 because he's coming off 2 weeks rest. He's coming off this emotional roller coaster. We know how Rahm goes on emotional roller coasters. It's sometimes off the tracks. For me, I'm more of a live bet Rahm. I don't want to pre-bet Rahm on this one. He can win it. He's got all the game. His metrics are fantastic. His course is his. But for me, two, the value's not good enough, one. And then secondly, I think you can get good value later in the tournament on him.
Yeah, and typically Rahm is a guy who's strongest on the weekend, right? Yeah. Saturday, Sunday is really when he dials in, right? And is the weekend continues. So out the gate, he's not a guy Thursday who's just going to, come out the gate firing. Now he may at this course with everything that's aligned with, him going into the U.S. Open, we may see that. And that's why I just took the number, just took what the market gave me on this one, because I feel like if he does get out to a strong start, the train left the tracks, right? You're not going to be able to get him. Chris, you talked about this in your article, the live betting angle with Jon Rahm. What are your thoughts on him this weekend and how you should play him?
Well, I'm on the same boat as pretty much Dave for the most part. I think live lining him is the way to go. The good thing about this tournament is you're probably not going to have too big of a gap when it comes to leaders. So you might have him down like 3-4 strokes, which might seem like a lot for this kind of competition. But for a guy like Jon Rahm, he could bounce back. And if I could get him at the like near 15 to 20 to 1 spot, that's pretty much where I'm going to be looking for him there, because I think that would be like the best value for him. And honestly, he is a top 10 machine, and he's played well here before. And the scary thing is, playing this well, he has been adjusting to new clubs. His whole bag is brand new with Callaway. So now that he's starting to get even a groove with it, it's pretty scary. And he seems pretty motivated for this tournament. The whole Memorial situation, he was really classy with it. He was saying, I'm all for what the PGA did. There's guidelines. He's like, I took that risk. I personally would have took the shot there because, you're playing – he lost over $1.5 million. I don't care how much money you make. That's a swift kick to the nuts. So, but overall, I cannot hate you for taking Jon Rahm. If you feel like this is the play, I think you can get value in the PGA. That's why I think it's the best sport to bet. And like Drum, you're going to take him at top 10. I think that's still good anyway, because like if you took a big favorite in money line in another sport, you'd be laying like minus 400, minus 500. This is like one of those big money lines, and you're only laying minus 110. Like, I still feel like that's good value, and you're just laying a little bit of juice. It's not the end of the world. So I think people get the big issue with people with betting is they always look for a big home run swing in golf and in golf betting. And I think you can definitely build your bankroll with some of these smaller payouts. I like some of these smaller payouts this week because I think the spots are really good and the field is deep. So I absolutely like the minus 110 for the top 10.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to chip it in the green, get yourself a top 30 or a top 20 and build your bankroll that way. Because if you're just trying to hit, the outright every single week and that's all you're betting on, you're going to be out of money real quick.
Yeah.
Not easy to hit these outrights, even though my guy Dave makes it look easy. Dave, give us another winner.
All right, bud. So, there's a bump, right? They're, again, talking about the guys that are just prolific off the tee that can really, separate themselves from the field. And, you pump this course from 75.50 to 76.85, and you drop it apart, one stroke. It's just so important to me. Bryson's numbers are incredible, right? He's first in strokes gained off the tee. He's first in driving distance. He's fifth in par 5 scoring. But I'm not going there. I'm actually going to dial in with my boy DJ. I think last week, listen, we got it. He was there, and that was right for his. That was right for his taking. But that's what I wanted to see. I know I didn't want to see him fade on the weekend, even though it helped out the Higo bet. But the fact of the matter is that he took control of a tournament he should win and then had a rough – it's a triple bogey on 17 or 16 on the Sunday. Otherwise, he's in a playoff. He's at 11 under if he doesn't triple that hole. People are saying, he faded. No, it was one hole. I'm telling you, it's one hole. I know he had some others, but that's it. Part of that hole, and he's in the playoff. And for me, I think he's getting back in the form. U.S. Opens, he knows. And he's been fantastic on a course like Pebble Beach, just a little north of there. He doesn't play this course much, but it doesn't matter. When you look at his strokes, he's 20th strokes gained off the tee. He's 6th in driving distance. And he's 28th in par 5 scoring, and those are key to me. I think DJ's just that guy. You don't rattle him. The rough's not going to bother him. He won at Oakmont, one of the hardest courses we've ever seen. And I think you're getting a good value there. I think I got him at 15-1 early in the tournament. He's still 15-1 now on DraftKings. DJ's my second bullet that I'm going to fire.
Yeah, I like it. A little mad at DJ because he did me dirty on Saturday, but I can definitely understand why you're going back to him, man. It looks like it could be DJ's season once again. Well, you're going to him. Yeah. But Chris, let's flip through the Rolodex and find a winner. What do we got?
All right, so there's 3 guys I like. I'm on the other spectrum with Dave here. I actually love Bryson this week. I was able to get him at 16-1.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of 14-1s, but once I saw 16, I just had to lock it in. His game that he's been building for this past year or so has been built for the U.S. Open style. Power, good out of the rough, good putting. That's Bryson's card right there. And at 16-1, I feel like you're still getting really good value there. There's actually a guy I do like. He is 70-1, and he already won a couple tournaments this year. Jason Kokrak. He's one of the top guys in driving distance. He's great with the putter. Very strong player, especially out of the rough. That one event, the Colonial, where he played the Colonial against Jordan Spieth, he was the villain. He was public enemy number 1. Everybody was cheering for Jordan Spieth, and he didn't care, and he pulled off that win. I found that to be very impressive. And this could be the kind of major, if he wins this, he could start getting to upper echelon and be like, oh, Jason Kokrak is here to stay. Even though he's won a couple events, which only a couple guys have done. I think Bryson and him are pretty much the only guys. There might be one more.
I think Cantlay might have 2 now, too.
Yeah, maybe Cantlay as well. Yeah. So that's another guy as well. And finally, my last guy that I like, he's in that sweet spot right now. He won as a 20-some-odd golfer already, and that's Rory McIlroy. I was able to get him at 21-1. Last time he won, I believe it was the Charles Schwab. He was in the low 20s, and I think this is a real good sweet spot for him. Great with the driver. I really like Rory this week. I think he'll play really well at that high rough, and I think those are the 3 horses I'm going to be playing.
Chris, you took my third. I love Rory.
Well, that's a good thing.
This week.
We're on page.
I'm playing Jason Kokrak a little too, and I'm telling you, I had to do everything in my power to go against Bryson because his numbers are off the charts for this. Mm-hmm. But it was just more of a mental thing. But Rory, I'm big on this week. That was going to be my third. I'm with you. Listen, let's go back to the PGA. If he doesn't play the par 5s like shit, I mean, he's in that tournament. Like, look at his numbers. He's 9th off the tee, 2nd in driving distance, 45th in par 5 scoring. Like, I mean, if he can just figure out the par 5s this week, and look, nobody's thinking about him. Yep. It's a perfect. That's how he was at Quail Hollow. Everybody gave up on his game because he's off with a swing coach they're not trusting. This is Rory territory. He's one of my top. I love that. Love it.
Our man Al checking in with the halftime score.
Now we're talking.
46ers. Exactly what we want to see.
I'm getting a beer.
Exactly what we want to see. My man, getting a beer. So listen, I'm going to drop another mid-range guy that I have. Well, actually not another, but the one mid-range guy that I have, and that's going to be Patrick Reed. And, Patrick Reed's a well that I've gone to plenty of times. Let me down the last time, but I'm back on Patrick Reed for the U.S. Open. Dave doesn't like it. Dave always hates Patrick Reed, but I'm back on him for this event without a doubt. When you look at Patrick Reed at 28-1, there's value at that number. I got him at even money to get in the top 20. Last 6 U.S. Opens inside the top 15 4 times. Right, 13th, 32nd, 4th, 13th. Again, just the last 4 years, that's his finishes at the U.S. Open. I like the form, tied for 5th at Memorial, right? Gained strokes putting in 11 of the last 13 events, right? On this Poana Greens, this second in the field in putting on Pure Poa based on his last 57 rounds, right? Won at Torrey Pines at the Farmers earlier in the year. I get it. It's going to be a little bit different because we're just playing the South. But listen, his last 12 rounds at Torrey Pines South since 2017, he is second in the field in scoring average. I think Patrick Reed's going to show up in a big way at the U.S. Open. Listen, I wouldn't want him dating my daughter, but I'm going to win some money off Patrick Reed this weekend.
Yeah, I'm actually on point with you with that Patrick Reed top 20. That's one of my top 20s as well. I got him at even money. He is, I believe, he's number 1 in the field in this with the putter, as with this Poana Greens, if you will. So I think that is very important. There's some good experience that comes with it, and he is a wizard with around the green game.
That's it.
He's unbelievable around the green. And and I remember you guys were just talking about that. That's going to be very important around Dave was talking about it, being that good around the green. He's one of the best on tour, honestly. I think he passed Jason Day used to be that guy, but I think it's Patrick Reed now. He's so good around the green. And then if his putter's good too, the only thing that worries me about Patrick Reed is he's not really long off the tee. That's my kind of issue, but I still think he's going to play well. So that's why I like him at top 20.
Yep. Yeah, doesn't get flustered. Big time event player. So I think he's going to be dialed in.
Yep.
Dave, what do you got?
Yeah, all that. I mean, he's magical around the greens, and that's going to be key here. I like the top 20 play. I don't necessarily like him to win because of the length, but here's another key that is in your favor, Drums. He wins at hard courses. Yeah, I mean, he just plays the hard courses very well, and I think he won like the BMW last year. I just know that Patrick Reed. Usually he's my kind of I like him on 72s, but this is like a 72. And obviously you saw he's pretty much wire. What did he win by 5 strokes earlier this year?
I think at the Farmers. Yeah,
it's a good pick. I just don't know with these conditions if he's going to be able to hang with the big boys. Because don't forget the Farmers. Guys like Bryson didn't play. Guys like JT doesn't play. So and that's the difference for me. But Reed top 20, I do like that.
Love it. Even money. Let's cash that ticket. Dave, give me another winner, buddy.
Yeah, look, Chris took Rory, and I'm in. That's my third, but I'll sprinkle one other one. And I'm big on Kokrak as well. I think he fits this course. He's also a good player up at Riviera, which Riviera kind of translates a little bit to Rory with length. But it's going to be my boy Finau. I know, he can't win, right? But he's had most top 10s on tour more than anybody. He's like in the 50s since 2016. He's always competing. He's really good at touring too. And then his metrics, he's 27 strokes gain off the tee, 34th in driving distance. But what surprised me, he's 13th in stroke gain approach. And he's a guy that, for me, he doesn't really get rattled. The U.S. Open's not a bad place for him. And he plays it pretty well at tough courses. He's played good at Jack's Place at Memorial. That's always ranked in very high as one of the tougher courses. Can he win? I don't know. Is the number great? Not really. So for me, I'm going to sprinkle just a small amount on the winning number. You're getting him around 25-1, but I'm definitely pushing some chips on the top 20, top 10. You're going top 10 plus 188, top 20 minus 110. So again, betting a football game with him. I think Tony competes this week.
Love to see it, dude. Love it. Golf's a better sport when Tony's in there getting action. Definitely love it, dude.
So there's something I wanted to talk about with Tony Finau. Anyway, there's one bet that you didn't cover that I actually really like. I love him at leader after first round. I found him at 40-1. He actually, like you said, he has played well at Torrey Pines before. I believe during his amateur career, I think he won like a tournament there when he was younger. So he does have somewhat of a winning mentality over there. But I think he's going to start off hot, guns blazing. He's really long off the tee. He can definitely power through that rough. And his putter is pretty solid too. Overall, all his strokes gain categories is fantastic. And when I made my model for leader after first round, the things I was looking at was the last 3 years, long rough play, first round play, Poana greens, over 7,400 course length, and the last 24 rounds. I feel like when I make my metrics, the last 24 rounds is usually the best window because that's most recent form. But then it's about 6 tournaments. So their last 6 tournaments, I think that's a good baseline where you're not going like 500 rounds, like something crazy of sorts. But with those kind of that model there, he finished in the top 7 in almost every strokes gain category. He's outstanding in the first round, and in this kind of course, I love him 40-1 for leader after first round.
I just punched it in. I'm in. I just punched it in. I like it.
Yep.
Imagine all the storylines going on, and imagine if Tony Finau's at the top of that leaderboard this time tomorrow.
Oh, absolutely!
Wow, that would be a lot of fun. A ton of fun. Let me roll into my last pick, my last outright top 20 guy. This is a bit of a long shot, 50-1, going Shane Lowry, a guy that I was on before, going back to him at 50-1. Have him plus 150 in the top 20. Since he's missed the cut at Arnold Palmer, has 4 top 10s, 8th at the Players, 9th at RBC Heritage, 4th at the PGA Championship, 6th at the Memorial. Last 24 rounds, right? Chris, you talked about the last 24 rounds. inside the top 15 in total strokes gained tee to green, and around the green. I think at 50-1, he is definitely worth a stab. And get him in, he lands in that top 20. Like I said, he's been living in that top 10, top 20 range. As long as he doesn't get kicked out, I know the level of competition is increasing, but I think the course fits him as well. I think he can play on this course with the toolbox that he has. Plus 150, I think, is a pretty good number there for him to land in the top 20.
Yeah, I like that top 20 number because, like you said, he's been real consistent in that top 10 field. And you got to think with these other big golfers, he might get bumped off just a little bit. And I think you're safe with that top 20. And we talked about earlier, these +1 and changes and 2s or whatever, you're going to get some good value with some of these guys that you'll be able to cash in with and build that bankroll. So I think that's important for the target. Don't be scared off of it for having a low payout because you know what? They all pay the same. It doesn't matter. So they all add up at the end of the day because you'll need these bets. You'll need these winners, and that's what we're going to provide you here.
Yeah, I'll cash 150 tickets all day, man.
Yeah, they cover your misses on the outrights, right? They're your longer odds, right? You got to hit these other ones. Drums, if I was going to have a real long odds to win it, I'm going to throw Will Zalatoris in the hat. I mean, look, he's been top 10 in all 3 of the majors he's played. He was top 10 in the U.S. Open last year. He's third in strokes gained approach, so he's a good iron player. You can get him 50-1 on William Hill, 47-1 on DraftKings. Look, there's value. I think that he's probably where I draw my line. I do think really the cream of the crop wins this thing, but I'm going to sprinkle a little on Will.
Absolutely love it, man. That is it for my outrights card. Dave, do you have anything else, or do we want to move on to some props and some other stuff?
Prop it up.
Perfect. Chris, I'm going to let you lead things off. What are some of the other bets on your card that you like heading into this weekend?
All right, so I have a couple missed cuts that I'm really liking here. I think you can get some good value of some guys. The first guy is Daniel Berger plus 235. I was able to find him to miss the cut. He's a guy that doesn't really play well on long courses. I made that mistake already this year with the PGA Championship at Kiowa. I thought he was going to be a really good horse to win. And I had Jonathan Coachman on, and he was telling me he is not one of these players that's good on these long courses. And I know the wind was kind of funky with his fade shot and everything, but he's just people call him a gamer, but I just think on these long courses, he's just not that good. And for plus 235, I'm more than happy to take that as well. And finally, this is kind of even longer shot, but I have Justin Thomas plus 310 to miss the cut. Justin Thomas, his last few events, he's been in the 40s. He had a missed cut. This putter is absolutely historically bad. And normally I like to get on these guys that have really bad putters, but it just keeps going and going for him. And he's been very sporadic off the tee, and that's going to only hurt him even more. If he keeps hitting it into the rough constantly, that's like a Jordan Spieth that I'm not real crazy about this week. These guys that are just kind of crazy off the tee, like Bryson, he's the exception because he can power through this rough, and he's going to go about like 20, 30 yards further than most of the guys. So, Justin Thomas plus 310 to miss the cut. Daniel Berger plus 235 to miss the cut. Those are the guys I'm rolling there not to make it to the weekend.
I did all my research on JT. I wanted to find an angle to say he could win. He's terrible right now, and he knows it. I mean, he's coming.
I love JT.
He's telling you like his putter, like you said, is letting him down. But he played at Torrey Pines once, and it was at I think it was his first year after declaring pro, 2015. And missed the cut. He's never been back. And while he can say all he likes that, he loves playing here, this and that, just doesn't line up with his schedule. There's some value in there to understand that, I do think he's going to struggle this week.
Yeah, and also another bet that I was looking at, a matchup, my favorite matchup. I love Rory McIlroy minus 120 versus Justin Thomas. I found that on DraftKings. You're laying a little bit of juice with two guys that are literally going the opposite directions. Big, same popular names, but you know what? JT has just been falling off, and Rory's been rising, and he's been getting really hot, especially with the driver and everything. And for a guy I think that's going to contend, and a guy that I think is going to probably going to miss the cut, that might just be locked in after Friday. So give me that minus 120, and then I could use that money for a little live betting, hopefully on Rahm if he slips a little bit.
Nice. What do you got, Drums?
I actually don't have any props like for this event. I just strictly did the outrights, but we talked about. about first round leader, and I wanted to bring up a name that I've been hearing a lot about. I didn't pull the trigger, but Dave, it's a guy that you've been high on lately, and that's Charlie Hoffman.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of people liking Charlie Hoffman to kind of come out of the first round. Not sure he can hang with this level of competition throughout the whole weekend, but they think he's a guy who can really start strong on this course.
He can, and he fits it. I mean, I have so much love for Charlie Hoffman. I bet him first round leader at the Masters in 1 year. Got like so lucky, right? And it's just Charlie's that type of guy. He will come out firing. I mean, but can he go 4 rounds in this type of pressure and this type of just mental strain? Probably not. So yeah, you get Charlie early. I mean, what do you got? Probably 80-1 first round leader. I mean, it's probably high.
Yeah, you can get really good odds. The and the thing is like, okay, terrible. The Memorial didn't work out. You know what I mean? But Schwab came in third, PGA Championship 17th, Valspar 18th, RBC Heritage 18th, Valero second, like right in form. Coming into that. So, is it a one-off? Is he going to bounce right back? I think if he's going to do it, round 1 would be the spot to target him.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, so about Charlie Hoffman anyway, honestly, with the approach, he's been one of the best of recent form. I actually think his numbers have been better than JT's, which is pretty outrageous because he usually has the best ball striking numbers. He's been absolutely unbelievable. I believe he's from California, so he's coming back to an area where he's been comfortable, playing there and everything. And it might be worth a shot to take him for leader after first round. He's not one of the guys I have for leader after first round, but if you want to take – I have 2 guys that are really high odds. So I'm going to just throw them out there. Big lottery tickets. Ches Reavie, 150-1. I really like him for leader after first round. He ranks 5th in strokes gained total, right in front of Tony Finau in that kind of first round model that I made. He only has 1 round, so there's not a whole lot of data with him, but he plays really well out of long, rough courses. So I think at 150-1, you can get it. You can put a little sprinkle there. And then I'm going back to the well. I wanted to play him last week, but unfortunately, he dropped out because he made the U.S. Open, so he didn't feel like playing that Palmetto, which I understand. Peter Malnati, I got him 200-1. He's a first-round making machine. Great on long par 4s, one of the best on tour on long par 4s. He ranks 2nd on strokes gained total in that model that I made. This is a major field. Guys are going to get forgotten about. Guys that would typically be around the 80 to 100-1s are going to go even much higher because of all the star power here. So 200-1 Peter Malnati, that would be a nice little lottery ticket to cover the week.
Yeah, it would.
Love it.
So I'm going to ride a few that you talked about. I do have some miscuts as well. For me, I'm all against Gary Woodland. He's an absolute.
Oh, okay.
I loved him. Where did we have him at? The Schwab, I think, drums in the top 20. Where you were playing kind of a shorter course. The guy could strike his 3 woods and his irons. But when he has to pull out the driver, it's been an absolute mess this year. And he's going to have to pull out this weekend. Plus 120 to miss the cut. I just don't think Woodland, his game is not meant right now for these types of really long, challenging courses. He played well at Kiewel. We remember that. A little more forgiving than the U.S. Open. We know he won at Pebble. But for me, if you can't get that driver in the fairway here, he's going to really, really struggle and eventually double a couple. Another one, I'm telling you, Webb Simpson. Plus 200, I think this course is going to be challenging for him to really navigate with the way he plays. He is good with his long irons, and it's usually with his hybrid. But I just think if he can't get that ball out there far enough to rely on your hybrid to hit the green constantly and to have that high rough around the greens and then average short game around the greens, I'll take the plus 200 odds Webb misses it well. So I'm going Webb and Gary on those. And I'm actually going with round one leader. It's Mark Leishman. I really like Leishman on the course. He's won at Torrey before. He is an excellent long iron player. He's that type of guy that could come out, just red hot and then fade late. You're getting 70-1 odds. So that's my round one leader that I'm just going to throw a lottery ticket out on as well.
Nice. Nothing wrong with a lottery ticket every now and then, as long as you're staking it the right way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Chris, before we wrap up, we're running up on 45 minutes. Any other bets in the holster?
Yeah, so there's a couple. I'm actually kind of contrary with him on Gary Woodland. I just found that pretty interesting for the most part. I actually like him for top 32 to 1.
Okay.
He is a former U.S. Open winner. I thought you did bring up a good point with the driver for the most part with him, but I felt like his long iron game is his strong suit, so I feel like that could play into his hands for the most part. Besides the Memorial, he finished 5th at the Wells Fargo, 38th at the PGA, and 14th at the Charles Schwab. So he is kind of trending in that right direction. I think there's value there at top 32 to 1. Top 40, Max Homa plus 130. California kid. He's a guy that has been really developing his game really strong this year. He won at the Genesis. He's been pretty solid this year. He's been playing pretty decent on the East Coast too, not horrible, but now he's coming back west. And I think he's going to put up a very good performance. All I'm asking for him really to do is to make the cut and just hang around on the weekend. And that plus 130 will cash as well. As far as top 10 goes, I love Patrick Cantlay top 10. He's plus 230. I was able to find him for. He did get that win I was able to cash in with, which, maybe not necessarily would be a win-win because Ron probably would have won it. But who knows? Anything could have happened. But I saw him hit really well at that pretty strong rough out there, and I think that's a good inclination that he's going to be able to do that at Torrey Pines, and he's very long with the driver as well. So I think he's going to keep that momentum going. I think that can bring him to a top 10 as well. So those are some of the plays I'm looking at. It's going to be a great tournament overall. You're not going to see high scoring. That's the kind of tournament I actually kind of like because I like to see all like the craftiness and see how these guys can really do under the pressure like this. So I'm super stoked about it.
Yeah, like to see him sweat, man. Like to see him a little bit uncomfortable out there. For sure. Max Homa right now. It's funny you brought up Max because I thought about playing his matchup against Sanjay, and I decided against it. Now I'm checking out FanDuel, and he's in there with Sergey Garcia minus 118. That might be a better play, but I'm going to see, Max might be a guy that I can bet live. Again, West Coast guy, plays hard course as well. I definitely think that he could pop a lot of momentum with Max Homa in the betting market. Dave, before we get out of here, any parting thoughts for the audience?
Yeah, I love the Max Homa. He's won at Quail Hollow, won at Riviera, like you said. I actually played him in the top 30, and I got plus 163 there. I like him, plus 40. I think you're top 40. You're very similar to me. Really like Max Homa in this tournament. I think he's level-headed. I think he's back on the the left coast, which he likes. Like that. I do like Leishman. It's a top Australian player at plus 175. Again, his course familiarity, winning at this venue before. And actually, he's playing some decent form lately as well. And for me, Joaquin Niemann over Garrett Higo is a matchup I'm looking at for this major. Garrett, I've already talked about him. Yes, great kid. Got the Victor Hovland smile, got that carefree personality, but you ain't seen rough like this, man. You ain't seen U.S. Open like this. I don't really think he makes the cut. I think you're done with this one like on Friday, like Chris spoke about in his matchup, and I think you're using that money and rolled over in the weekend with some live bets. And lastly, I got the winner of the birdie, the 72nd hole. Remember, it's a par 5. Why not? I mean, it's one of those holes that if you're in the fairway, you're going to attack. And you're safe hitting it over the green there. So the winner of birdie, the 72nd hole, you're getting plus odds. I think it's plus 120. Is one of the other props I really like.
I like that.
Yeah, I like the Niemann over Higo, to be honest with you. A little Higo hangover after the big win. And then, a lot of people, they look at him, you can't tell, you pick the guy out of a lineup, but Niemann hits bombs, dude. He can hit bombs. So he's a guy that could definitely sneak up on some people this weekend, a guy that I will have my eye on as far as betting live, Joaquin, as long as he can get the other stuff straightened out, man. The length on this course is not going to bother him at all. But Chris, before we get out of here, tell the audience where they can follow you and all the things you have going on right now.
All right. Well, guys, thank you again for having me on. This was a lot of fun. I've been wanting to be on for a while. This is great stuff here, as always, as I watch. And you can find me at Chris Ebaum on Twitter, and you can find my betting page as well at OTT Bets now, formerly OTT Matchups, OTT Bets, everything betting, golf. And and also on top of that, Stateside Vodka, the official vodka of off the tee bets. Yep. So, Philly's own smoothest vodka out there. Use the code off the tee and you get 10% off on their website. You can pick it up there, or if you live in PA or any of those other spots I put out on Twitter, they also ship it to you there as well. So, a great vodka to pair along with the show. So I'm very happy with that. And let's keep this rolling for the heat ratio.
Absolutely. Follow the man, cash the tickets, celebrate with vodka, use the promo code, all that good stuff. I'm a tequila man personally, but hey, man, if we hit these outrights, I might have to buy a little vodka anyway, just to help wash it down, right? We'll mix and match, have a good time. But thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Follow us on Twitter. All live bets over the weekend will be there. I am at X_Drumheller. Dave at DGleck. You can see it on the bottom of the screen under the picture. We will be back next Wednesday. No show this Saturday. I'm going to be traveling again, but we'll be back Wednesday night. More golf. And then we'll pick it up the following Saturday. So we appreciate everyone tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Heat Ratio Sports Network. Best of luck to everybody. Let's cash these tickets.